Okay, so I'm Hope. I'm a mother of three girls. And my eldest is called Delici, my middle daughter is Zara, and my last one is called Raina. They are currently 16, God, you lose track, don't you? 13 and 7 years old. So yeah, that's where I'd like to start from.
Yeah, and I think just previously we were talking about how they're not all in private education, they're not all
Mhm.
in state education. And I was just wondering if you kind of talk about the decisions that you
Okay.
made
So,
behind
yeah.
their journeys in terms
Okay.
of.
So we have an interesting family dynamic. What happened was we were living overseas. We were living in Libya. And in 2011, we got evacuated back to this country. When I say we, I mean myself, my husband, and my two girls at that time.
Okay.
And we were just suddenly rushed back because there was a civil war, etc., etc. And when we came back, it was just at the time when my youngest, who would have been turning 4, would have needed to have, signed up for schools, etc. So we'd missed the whole school application for him.
Right, okay, yeah.
So the easiest and most straightforward thing was to put the two girls, the then 7-year-old and 4-year-old, into an independent school.
Right.
And also that was supported by my husband's company as well. So they financially supported and backed that idea up because we were just thrown back here, like,
Yeah,
we
yeah, and obviously the
yeah,
system is actually quite long in order to get you
yeah,
to like a local
yeah, yeah.
school.
So off they go into independent school and yada yada yada. And the two of them then did. That was a school that we just found. It was a community school in Ladbroke Grove, lovely place, but it was just what it was. We then settled into the Harrow area of,
Okay.
of London, and there's like a really good independent school called Orley Farm there. And we decided to move them closer to home because we now were more settled than when we
Yeah,
first
yeah.
came. And they both went to Orley Farm primary school, independent school, very, very expensive. By this time, the company were not supporting us. So
Right.
it was us funding this. But we just decided, just
Yeah, yeah,
keep
yeah.
going, and it was okay. And then my eldest needed to go to secondary school. And at that time, again, the school didn't really prepare you for taking your child out of the private sector into the state sector.
No, and that's interesting. And if you just go back to talking about the private primary school, what were their experiences like in that school? Were they positive? Were there issues that you kind of found?
Okay, so as black kids go, they went to a school. I've told you it's called Orley Farm. It has a very, very high. The minority groups there are blacks and white people. So
Okay.
the dominant race is the Asian race, but of course
Right.
they're split into all different demographics:
Yeah, of course, of course.
Pakistani, Asian, Sri Lankan. But that is predominantly what was there. And what I found as an experience, it was quite good. It was nice, and they were very positive. They definitely wanted us because, of course, they wanted
Yeah,
to, I think, dilute the Asian environment, so
yeah.
to make it more even. But so we were welcomed. My two girls both really excelled there. They did really well.
Okay, right.
Academically, they did really well. As particularly my younger daughter, the second
Yeah.
middle daughter at that point, did really well. But then she's a very talented girl.
Mm.
However, I do think that even in that environment, which has all white teachers,
Right.
loads of Asian students, and a few white students and a few black students, even in that environment, you find that black children are somewhat stereotyped,
Yeah, of course. And I think,
expected to be good at certain things and not so good at other things.
right. Yeah.
And so, without knowing it, I think limitations are placed on them as
Definitely. Definitely.
as
Definitely.
yeah, in terms of their ability. And then of course it was also, so from a point of view of the school, it's a lovely environment, but from a point of view of the ethos of the parents that are going there,
Yeah.
it could be hostile because it was highly competitive. We're children of migrants, and so
Yeah. Yeah.
educational success is so important, and this prevails in the Asian culture. It's like at all costs, at any cost, and to every
Yeah.
sacrifice.
Yeah. My child is going
Yeah,
to excel. Yeah. Yeah.
my children weren't there because I wanted them to do better because they were in a private school. My children were there because of you've seen our circumstance that put us there. And then
Exactly.
what I wanted was just to nurture them, you know, a place to nurture them.
Yeah.
I believe that they were clever kids, so didn't need that really, that help. So I just wanted them to get to have an environment where they could learn and learn other things other than just the curriculum. If you know what I mean.
I understand. No, I understand.
But in all things, I feel that the Black children were given a ceiling, whereas the few white children propelled much higher. They, if you look at the prospectus of the school, you wouldn't believe that it was now currently 85% Asian. You wouldn't believe it. Because the few white children are always all over the brochures.
Yeah, and I just think that is kind of, I don't know whether you talk about these kind of things in terms of a subconscious mentality of the school, but I think it is really interesting thinking about the glass ceilings. And I think that was something I actually experienced at school. It was like, well, there's no way that she's going to be good at English, and she's going to be good at drama, and she's going to be good at PE. And that's all very well. But those kind of narratives are actually really dangerous in kind of boxing off maybe science or maths or English or
precisely
that sit outside of that kind of homogenous understanding of blackness.
Yes.
In another interview. So how do you as a parent then kind of counteract that narrative?
It was very difficult. I start with my kids, right? I start with my kids. I'm very much about nobody can tell you who you are. You've got to tell yourself who you are.
Yeah.
And then let the world see you being the person you say you are.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned English. My middle daughter in this primary school, she's gifted with public speaking. She's very talented and able to speak on any platform to anybody. She did from the age of 8, she was performing at Brent's Black History Month to huge crowd.
Amazing.
But it's a gift. You know,
yeah,
you can
yeah.
praise her all we want, but it's a gift.
That kind of
Nobody did anything to give it to her. And I can remember she was also very good at English because it kind of goes hand in hand.
No, definitely being able to articulate yourself.
Yeah, and I can remember her English teacher in the school with such surprise telling me, "Oh, she'll be amazing at interviews, and you must be so proud considering." And that's where the sentence stopped. Considering.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, considering what? I mean, I am proud, but considering what?
Yeah.
She's high ability. She's in, why considering? Why not just you must be so proud? Full stop. Why considering? And we'll never know what she meant by that considering, but I know what she meant.
Of course we do know, yeah.
I know what she meant. So I start with just, for me, I'll start with the 2 bigger ones. I just always try to encourage them that no one can tell you who you are. You've got to tell yourself who you are. And whatever anyone else says to you, what you say to yourself must come first. It's
definitely,
the top.
Definitely.
Yeah. So like we started the conversation talking about that. So moving on from Orley Farm, my middle daughter stayed on there until she came to the end. And by this time, with the help of family, I'd understood how to navigate the state system. And she was very lucky. She got a place in a very good state school for her because it's a performing arts school in central London. Okay. It's a state school at St. Marylebone School. So I didn't feel, with my eldest one, she just transitioned on to independent school because that's all we knew. And we found...
it kind of went with the journey.
We just went with the journey. We found a Catholic school in Ealing where I thought that the people and the population were suited to us because they weren't like well, of course there's some very, very rich people, but they weren't mega rich. These were working parents making it work for their kids. So I found that demographic to work better for us in that she wouldn't go there and feel so underprivileged amongst people. She would just be from a family of people that work hard and have chosen to invest a little bit of money in their child's education. Yeah. And that school had a lot more white people. It isn't completely white, it was mixed, but the major population is white with all other ethnic minority groups there in equal paradigms, etc. Yeah. I found that they were less limiting to their Black students.
Interesting.
Yeah, less limiting. I don't know whether it's because of faith school, I don't know, but
Yeah,
or just the ethos of the head teacher, because this can affect things. Just
definitely. I think a head teacher actually has a huge amount of, just in terms of the kind of the energy, and then teachers pick up on it, and it's kind of like what kind of things are
filters down, right?
yeah, it completely filters down.
Yeah. So she fitted in there. She not that she didn't fit in the other place, but I didn't feel so much that she was limited as because all that the other Black students, not just her, I'm just looking generally.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like that they were stereotyped into having to be good at sports, like you said, drama, or they were given the same
Unity,
blank canvas
that's
as
really
their peers.
interesting.
And consequently, she did really well there. She did, obviously, this GCSE year had what you call these predicted grades, but yes, she did well. And when things weren't going well, I don't know whether it's my personality or their personality, the door was very open to come and say, what's going on here? You know, what's going on?
And not let things kind of get out of hand.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was important.
Exactly. And we've had a great experience with her there. And the school, I think what it is, I think because they are slightly a smaller independent, they're not massive. I think they had to listen to parents. And I think they've gotten, this is the thing about the narratives, and this is the good thing about what we're doing, the stories. They had listened to they have had stories of individual Black children that have not allowed them to form a general opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that's really amazing. And I think in a smaller environment, it's easier because you kind of have these relationships with one-on-one students. Which can actually get really missed when you're dealing with 100 kids from this community, because then you don't see the one that was not good at sport and was good at English, or the one that, and that's when it becomes kind of dangerous, and you just adopt these kind of assumptions,
put them all in one bracket. And then of course there's the narrative in the media, then of course there's the narrative in everything that you read, and you just follow suit. And I think you're right. I think it is because that school was two form entry, so children were seen as individuals rather than, oh, the Black kids will all do the sport and the hockey and the running, and all the Asian kids will be great at maths, and and the white kids will be all rounders. They were treated as individuals, and it's a bit like, I mean, I'm a Christian, so it's a bit like churches. When you've got big massive churches, the congregation is lost.
Yeah.
But when you've got a small one, what you tend to have is a leader actually knowing each person, each family, each individual. Yeah. And that's what I think. It would be lovely to get a place like St. Augustine's where they did know this, to share their experience and say, well, we didn't have this because we actually got to know these kids one-on-one.
And how would you say that's varied to your kids in state education? Because I went to a very mixed state school. I would still say that because it was such a big school, it was harder to kind of maybe engage with individuals. And despite it being mixed, maybe in some ways it kind of lent itself to more kind of prejudices, because there was just different groups of races.
Yeah. Well, here goes to Zara, my middle daughter's experience. Zara goes to St. Marylebone Girls. It's a high achieving state school academically. They have scholars, and they have, and we'll start there actually. They have scholars because how we get into the school is because, and I think I spoke to Cheryl about this, we live in Ruislip. We would never get into this school unless she got a scholarship, which is not a scholarship financially, it's a scholarship based on her ability for performing arts. And so the school is in the heart of London. So what you have are two types of people, very wealthy or low income. There's no, because if you live close to that school, you're either a homeowner in Marylebone or Baker Street, or in social housing. So that's the disparity. And the school also has a very, and I love it, it's mixed. There's so many Black children, there's so many white children, there's different ethnicities in there as well. But what you notice about school, if you go from the year 7 to the year 11, most of the scholars are white.
Right. Okay.
most of the scholarships for performing arts, because they offer, I think they offer 3 for drama, 3 for music, and 3 for dance.
Right.
And they wear a different colour tie.
Oh wow.
Which is fine. That's their market.
Yeah. But then I guess when
that makes it very easy to see.
Yeah.
They're mostly white, occasionally Chinese, very, very seldom the mixed race. And yet, when you go to the school's performances, who are the stars? All those black girls.
Yeah.
How is it that they did not win the scholarships?
Yeah. Does that make
I personally believe it's a conscious decision to keep more white kids in the school.
Yeah. Does that make you feel uncomfortable knowing that that's a kind of rhetoric that's kind of underlining the program?
It's really hard, Lauren, because you can feel all of this stuff in your heart, but how to prove it and what to do. Do I take my child away from there and not let them have the best opportunities?
Yeah.
Or do I just fight on and say, right, I know it's there, but we're going to make the difference. We're going to make the stand.
Yeah.
We're the ones that are going to show them that they need to stop this. And I choose to carry on.
And I agree with you.
My children to suffer.
Taking your kid out actually not only, spikes yourself, but actually doesn't lead the way for them to be like, oh, well, actually, no, we now have an example, which has worked really, really well and has proved to them that you don't need to be kind of a white middle class girl in order to achieve. But it is
also to be talented. And they know it. To be honest, they know it because I've been
from the show, you've explained.
I've been to the performances, and it's the kids with the voices, the kids with the we can see, but they're not the kids that get, and it's not all.
Yeah.
From year 7 to year 11, why would it be that the demographic of the scholars is not the same as the demographic of the school?
Yes. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, no, that is really, really
And once again, the teachers, all white, very few of different races. So it's this subconscious bias when you sit in that audition. Who's more likely to be chosen? The person that looks like you.
Yeah. And in an ideal world, like, what would all of your kids' education look like? I mean, it sounds like they're all thriving in the schools that you sent them to.
Do you know what? If I had ample money and resources, I would stick to the independent sector because, again, moving to coronavirus times, it did show me that where money is poured in, the children get a better education. Right. And when a crisis comes, but I'm not doing it because I want A stars. I tell everybody this.
Yeah.
If your kid is going to get those grades, they'll get them anywhere.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I do it because when I look at my oldest, my middle daughter, of course, because she did have that background from her primary school. But when I look at my oldest daughter, I'm from a family of loads of girls. I've got 2 sisters. We have, we like to tell people we have 10 daughters because altogether that's what we have.
Yeah.
We don't have any sons. It's just the way it is. And I look at my daughter who's just done her GCSEs, who's the only one who's gone to an independent school. And she's the only one, and she's not the brightest by any stretch of the imagination. There are others who are much more academic and would fly into top universities like Cambridge and Oxford. But she's the only one who believes she can do it.
Yeah.
It's the confidence.
It is. It does set you up in that way. And I think it's not only just the education, but I think it's the kind of being around people who have the context that they have it. You gain a bit of self-belief off of other people.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. If they keep telling you can do it, you believe you can do it, and eventually you do.
And I think it's like, not to use this word in a negative way, but it's a sense of entitlement that we should have.
Yes, it's what you're about. It is, that's what you're made of. You might not know this show because you're young, but there's a show called 7 Plus. Have you ever watched it?
No, tell me.
It's a documentary that started, I think they're all about 63 now. Okay. And they started at 7. And these children, they follow them every 7 years to see where they are in their lives. Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't.
7 Plus, Google it, it's great. So they're all about 63 now. But the thing is, they took a huge cross-section of the population, age 7. Just ask them, what do you think you'll be doing? Where do you think you'll fit? And these, I think it was 3 boys particularly from, upper class backgrounds, had no doubt that they would be going to Oxford or Cambridge, and even knew the colleges that they would be attending.
Wow.
They would be studying at 7. And Lauren, it came true.
Yeah.
And that's because, like you said, it was a sense of entitlement. They were going to do that.
Yeah.
They were going to do that. There was no... So if you instill it, and I'm not saying that that's the goal. The goal is not Oxford or Cambridge. The goal is...
I understand, but it's knowing that you have the ability, and it's not like this kind of far off dream that like might not or may not happen. Because for me, I remember looking around Russell Group unis being like, this is like, feels really surreal, and I can't believe that I'm doing that. Mm-hmm. And my dad turned around to me and he was like, what do you mean you can't believe you're doing that? Like, there's nothing to suggest throughout your whole education that wouldn't be you. But for me, I was walking around these universities feeling like this kind of sense of like, I think a lot of Black students have this at uni, about imposter syndrome.
Yes.
And if you can counteract that.
Yes. And that's because of what you've been told all the time in the background, in school. And if it hasn't been identified at home or in like the little groups that you live in, it just keeps building and building and building. And you can see why a kid might be like, oh, I don't want to go to that big... I keep saying these big name universities, but that's all I'm saying is...
I understand.
Why should they be limited?
Yeah.
Why should they feel like they can't fit in? The place should fit them, not them fit in. Do you know what I mean? They should be welcomed. It's a building, for goodness sakes. It should accommodate them, not them accommodate it.
If you think about that dynamic of somewhere should be made to accommodate everyone and be an accessible place, are you optimistic that in 10 years' time that will be the case, and that you could go to a show and see the scholars as a diverse group of people? Like, how do you kind of view the future of the private education system in terms of diversity from the perspective as a Black mum?
So I'm really big on telling the kids, which is not just mine, all the kids, that our future has to be in our hands.
Yeah.
No one's going to give this to us.
Yeah.
We've been waiting. It's not going to be given to us. And so what I tell my kids and my nieces and my one nephew is, I think the key to equality is us dragging it and making it for ourselves. Right. So what I'm trying to say is, if they don't give it to us, let's make our own universities.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think throughout actually the Black Lives Matter movement, there was a lot more of a drive for kind of Black-owned institutions. And I think the Free Black University is something that's been set up, or it's received a significant amount of funding. And I'd be interested to know your opinion on Black-owned institutions.
All I say is, whatever we own, whatever we do, they have to be centres of excellence. Because that's the way we'll get the respect. Because you see, the world, the West, they're greedy. If it's good, they'll come.
Yes.
And they'll sacrifice all their subconscious bias and all their prejudice and all their racism to get their hands on what's good. But we need to be in control of it. So we command the narrative of the building. So you know what? You're going to come and you're going to have to feel comfortable in our excellent institution.
Yes.
In our place. Because it's power that gives you equality. And we have to...
You're so right, because people go to these places regardless of even any of their own prejudice or racist beliefs.
If they're good enough, if they're centres of excellence, if it's proved. For example, people don't run away from... There's a school near here, it's a Sikh school, the kids do brilliantly. People want to send their kids there, they don't care. Yeah. They don't care about the fact that it's a Sikh school. So we can make our establishments, and that's what I say. That's why I encourage the youngsters and my children, excel. Don't let people control you. You control them, because they like your money. Doesn't matter what color your skin is. They like your money. They take your money. Yeah. You understand? Long time. I'm going to diverge slightly, but this is really important. my parents came to this country from Nigeria
Right.
in the 60s.
Yeah.
They moved to Liverpool. My mother was expecting a baby, and by this time my dad had worked and saved money. They had plans to go back to Nigeria. They weren't going to stay. My mum was expecting, and they couldn't get a bigger room to rent, because you know the narrative, no blacks, no
Yeah.
But what they did have was money in the bank. So after a while, do you know what my dad said? He said, you know, I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to buy a house. He had enough money to buy a house cash. Guess what? The person that sold him the house was probably racist, but he liked his money.
Yeah. No.
Didn't need to go to the bank to get a mortgage. They would have probably said, no, you're a black man. How dare you come for a mortgage? He had money. It bought the power. He owned the house. He owned it outright.
And I think the narrative of ownership couldn't be more important for the black community.
Simple. We're not going to be given this. And that's what that's why I say, if we can build excellent schools, excellent universities, well, if they don't come, at least our kids get it. But guess what? They will come. They will come. They will beg to come. They'll pay to come. And we will be the leaders of that institution. I would love that. The only thing would give me more pride.
No, I think it's really, really important. And kind of thinking actually about the kind of the Black Lives Matter period and kind of the conversations that were being pushed in the media and at home and at school, kind of how would you say that you dealt with those conversations with your kids? Because they're varying ages. So that must have been quite difficult, because do you change the narrative for the ages, or do you just say, look, kids, as a collective, we're going to have this conversation and this is what's happening?
It was really tough, actually, and it still is, because my eldest daughter, she fell out with a lot of her friends because young people think that social media is real life, right? So if she would put some comments up on social media, she wanted all her white friends to be like it, excellent, and if they didn't, she read into that they're bad people, they're racist, they don't get it, and that was something I wasn't comfortable with, because I know one particular friend of hers. I said, you know, since you've been in school, you've stayed in her house, she's welcomed you. I'm not going to take her reaction on social media to decide if she's a racist or not. She's just probably not comfortable with the topic, which isn't my daughter's problem. We've understood that now as Black people, that other people's discomfort is not our problem. But it's not. It was hard. It was hard because they're like me. They're quite passionate. The two big ones are quite passionate. But I was afraid of them taking it, not to an extreme, but taking it. You know, children. Everything that's happening in the adult world, they invest in it. They multiply it.
And I think this idea of social media, though, is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Because I think, like, my parents' relationship with social media, like the conversations that I would have about friends using social media and whatever, like, it's so, like, when you're in this world, it's like a completely different world, like you said. And I kind of have some sympathy with your daughters in that sense, because you kind of expect that, but then you then realize that everyone has their own individual relationship with social media, which means that you can't actually judge everyone with the same brush, because maybe you don't know, maybe that person is at home reading a book about, you know, whatever it is.
What you've said is what I struggled with. So ordinarily I would be like, like, this is what I did when they were little, when Barack Obama got voted in, and I gathered them and I was like, watch, this is history, this is life. And ordinarily I would be the same. Come on, watch what's going on, be aware, this is what's happening. So I kind of trusting that I've brought them up to understand the whole hashtag in our way. And it was very passionate for me, something that I was mega passionate. I am still mega passionate about. It was hard for me to adjust my tone to ensure that my children didn't, throw away valuable friendships that they've made based on this little element on the social media platforms.
No, I think
I kind of wanted them to remember, you know, if these friends have been good to you as a person, surely that's more important than them saying anything. Because do you know what? You can say, I can have white friends that are like, yeah, Black Lives Matter, but then if they're actually discriminating against me,
we're in a workplace watching you, you know, suffer these microracial aggressions and doing nothing,
then get them out of my life. I don't need your words on Facebook or on
Yeah,
Instagram.
no,
I'd actually rather hear your voice in real life.
agreed.
than
And I
do
think
that.
those are the kind of meaningful conversations that's
Mm.
important to have. But was there kind of like a sit that I'm just so interested because I didn't have younger
Oh,
siblings.
we sat down a lot,
Yeah.
not just me and them, me, my husband, them, even the little one. And of course you have to change it. The little one is 7. She's, like I said, she's in a state school. It's a Catholic school. Now this is a really white school. So I have a whole new battle in this school.
Yeah.
Is very, very white, you know. The people of color are scattered through the school. So I'm always there trying to remind the school that you've got to take care of these kids of color in this environment. And yet I think the whole lockdown period and the Black Lives Movement impacted the little one, so much so that I'll tell you a story that happened this term since they've been back.
Yeah.
She, again, you know, they put them, you know, with all the bubbles and everything, their teachers place them next to people and then they get moved around. Anyway, she gets moved to sit next to a little girl who she's year 3, but she's never really played with this little girl, which is fine. And I think they've never really got on, which is also fine because you don't have to like everybody.
Yeah.
And then I just thought to Vasta, I said, well, you know, what is it about this little girl that you don't like? And these were her words. And I love these words because I think if a child says this, believe them. She said to me, Mommy, I think she's just one of these people that doesn't like Black people.
Really?
She didn't say she's a
So
racist.
intuitive as well. Like it's
she used her own words to
articulate that.
Now you're a Black woman, I'm a Black woman. You tell me you've never had that feeling about someone.
Yeah.
You can't put your
finger on at that age to be that kind of like, yeah.
It was, if she'd have said to me, oh, she's racist, I would have thought, oh, she's just copying words. I just think she's one of these kind of people, you know, she just doesn't like Black people.
And what do you say to that as a parent?
Well, I say to the teacher, move her. It starts there, right? That's the first thing.
Get her out.
You know, I did. I didn't mean. I mean, it went more than that because they were really getting into a bit of friction, and I just said, you know what, this isn't working. You moved them to suit someone else's problems, and now you've caused a problem for my child. Let's just move them. We don't need them sitting next to each other. I'll tell you what was ironic about it. The exact same feeling I have about the child's mother. Exact same feeling.
Wow, and you wouldn't even have communicated that to your kids.
And no, I've never said it to her. But when I realized who the child was, because I didn't know until after, I was like, wow, that's so weird because that's the same feeling.
It's actually really incredible.
It is.
In terms of picking up on those things, and I think you really have to trust your kids. I mean, I know there's
I trusted her. I trusted her 100%.
But that's.
But what I did say to her is, not everybody is going to like you, whether it's because you're a girl, whether it's because you're Black, whether it's because your name is Raina, whether it's because you're smart, whether it's because you're pretty. Not everyone is going to like you. But what's important is that you like yourself.
Yes, definitely. And I think that's cropped up in other conversations about really drilling that into your kids, especially if they're in kind of all white environments and kind of those kind of self-affirmations and like kind of claiming your identity and your Blackness. And once you have that, it really is other people's problems.
And I said to her, and what's important is you try not to put yourself in a position with somebody who doesn't like you because of any of those things I've just mentioned has power over you. Yes. Because you can sit in your little house and not like me, but if you can't affect me from getting a job, if you can't affect me from progressing, you know what? I don't like you either. Yeah, and it's an irrelevant kind of back to this is it. This is back to those were the words I used with her. At first I said, you've got to like yourself. And how important is this little girl compared to me, your mom, your dad, your sisters, the friends that do like you? How important is she on the list of people you pray for every day? Very low down. Maybe not on the list. Maybe not even on the list. So let's not worry about her. You know, we can just say, let her be taken care of by whoever she prays to. We be taken care of by who we pray to. That's not your problem. But most important for your future, don't let people like that dictate. It's unavoidable. We still live in a world that is is racist, and we are still the class that comes beneath. So
Yeah.
it's unavoidable, but we do everything in our power. We don't have to rent houses, we have to buy them.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
landlords will say, we're not renting to those Black people. But
Yeah.
if you buy,
Yeah.
they want your money.
And that kind of leads me on to my last question. You kind of mentioned the future. Like, how would you say you view the future of your children's education? And would you say that it's kind of an optimistic vision that you have, or do you kind of cite obstacles that you're going to have to deal with as a parent?
Yeah, I do. I cite obstacles. I don't think we're there. I don't think we're obstacle free. I don't think that they can choose their path and expect to get there with the same merit as their white counterparts.
Right.
That's not nice for me. That's not right. That's not fair.
Yeah.
However, I'm trying to instill in them that whatever it takes, you've got to get there, and then you've got to make it easier.
Yes.
Easier. You've got to make it more level for the generation that comes behind you. That's your job. That's your responsibility to make it. You know, you have a hill to climb. So yes, so as I say, I don't think that it's an obstacle-free path. And by obstacle-free, I mean the field is not level. You know, the same.
It's really sad, but it is true.
Sad. It is sad, but you and I and all the adults that are ahead of my kids have a job and a duty.
Yeah.
You know, networking has never been bigger. This is our opportunity.
Yeah.
To make a difference, and you know, to address what we can now, and then they have the next stage. So they've got to succeed. If you don't succeed, this won't work.
That's true.
You can't get what you want from underneath. You've got to get up there. You know, you've got to be at the table. Otherwise, you will be on the menu. You know, you've got to. So, you know, so no matter how hard it is, no matter how difficult the journey is, got to get there. Make it better for those that come behind you. And that's all I can really do and say to them. I'll make it as good as I can for you. You make it better for the person that comes behind you, not just your child, not just your kids, not just your kids,
your contemporaries.